Hello everyone, welcome to Redbust US channel. In this video, we'll look at the latest lawsuit that was filed against Trump administration regarding the 100,000 fee that was implemented recently. So we look at the key argument points, the chances of success and all sorts of things, right? So just to get started, this is what we will cover in this video. We'll look at a brief background and then, look at key argument points and what are the chances. And then, we'll look at what the decision the everybody wants, right? So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, do subscribe, getting regular updates. So if you look at it, this is the news actually, or rather the point of the document. So what you see on the screen is the actual court document regarding to the lawsuit that was filed. It's about a 65-page document, right? So we'll go over some of the key points. We're not going to go into every integrities of this, but look at the key points in that so that to assess a thing where it stands. So just to set everybody is on the same page, right? This is a proclamation was signed by President Trump that said that on September 19th that you have to pay 100,000 fee if you're outside of the US and trying to enter US on H1B visa. So again, there was some lot of case that happened and all of that, right? Again, the reason for this proclamation is that it's a national interest and a lot of IT companies, MNCs especially, right? Outsourcing companies are abusing the system and Americans have lost jobs. So this is the backdrop of this whole thing and why this was signed. And so essentially, there was some guidance that came after that. All in all, since September 21st, it's been effective. And the companies or the organizations that are hit very hard are the nonprofit organizations, universities, all of them who heavily rely on talent from outside of America, right? So they're the ones that are hit, right? So what has happened is since September 21st, a bunch of organizations have been working on filing a lawsuit. They've been working together, and finally on October the 3rd, they filed in the U.S. District Court of Northern District of California. That's where they filed this lawsuit. So as you can see on the screen, there's a title, the case number, and who filed, right? So if you see, it's a bunch of organizations, not one organization. It's a big list of organizations, be it professors, religious organizations, researchers, nursing teams. So it's like a mixed bag of different entities that are kinds of entities that will be impacted by this, right? It's about a very long document, over 65-page document, compelling putting all these things in place, right? So again, what you see on the screen is the actual, homepage, or rather the first few pages of the lawsuit. So we won't really like show or go over each of them, but we'll look at the summary, the key points, right? So to start with, right, some of the key points is the biggest one is the presidential power overreach. So president, just because somebody is a president of a country, doesn't have all the powers to do anything he wants. So that's the key argument they make, and so president doesn't have the power to impose any fee. So anything to do with fees or anything as such is called the power of the purse, and this is typically in the hands of the U.S. Congress. So that's where it is actually done. So if you look historically as well, any fee increments for USAS or any of these things, we usually go through the process that is part of the federal US Congress bills, right, that happened. I mean, in the past, because the bill wasn't passed, the fees was basically stuck at some point for a very long time as well. So president cannot really impose fee. That's the key thing. And it's an entry ban, and as per 212F and 215A. So essentially, that's an entry ban. So president doesn't have the power to go beyond that. Again, whatever he has asked in this is going beyond that. So that's what they're saying. And also, the rules of H1B are actually defined by Congress. Suddenly agencies like DHS, State Department, they cannot deny visas just based on some president's order, which he doesn't have the authority to change the fundamental rules of that. So that's the argument point. And the biggest one that they always point in this is called Administrative Procedure Act, which is actually like there is a set of rules that anything has to follow. Like, there should be a public notice, there should be comment period, then they should be reading at all of these, do an assessment, how it impacts nonprofits, small organizations, all of these, and then come up with the rule. So you can't really just, hush-hushly create something, right? So basically, it's called arbitrary and capricious. That's one. And so that's the key point at APA. It's a APA violation. That's what they project in the whole thing, right? So that's how it is. So this is one of the key argument points. And again, they also look at the economic harm that's created, right? If this comes into the play, especially hospitals are shortage of nurses, and they pay them probably $50,000, and now a $100,000 fee is actually a huge number that they'll have to pay on top of that. So which won't work. So schools also similar thing. They rely on foreign staff to come in, so that also won't work. religious group, they're relying on clergy, people who come from outside, so it doesn't work for them. So university researchers, so what they do is in the lawsuit, each of the plaintiffs essentially who are impacted, they're narrating their story or how they're impacted around that, right? So this goes on and on. Again, I'm trying to summarize the overall gist, right? So that's what it is, right? Again, the overall idea is that the lawsuit is creating a broader harm for all of these groups of people, and all of these people have come together and now representing to the court, so that it rules in the favor. So this is the main crux of it. Again, there are some things where they talk about, like a national interest can be abused because it is very subjective, there is no guidance given yet, and all sorts of things that have been put up in that, right? But having said that, this is the key crux of it, right? It's an APA, Administrative Procedure Act kind of thing. That is what they're going after, and presidential power over it. So that's about it, right? And yeah, so now if you look at it, I mean, what you see on the screen is snippets of screenshots from the lawsuit, right? Again, unfortunately, we can't really publish the entire document here, so that's why we're just putting in snippets. We'll put a link in the description for the article where you can see more of these and read in detail as well, right? So what is the decision that the plaintiffs want? I mean, or the people or these organizations want is declare that this $100 fees is unlawful and remove the sections 1, 2, and 3, right? So what these 1, 2, and 3 are basically the crux of the entire proclamation, essentially, right? Like the lawsuit, the 100,000 fees, implementation, compliance, and all of that. That's what is covered. Again, what is outside of that is not really like, okay, assessment, wage based, all of that. I mean, they're not going after all parts of the lawsuit, sorry, the proclamation. So just these three parts, which are primarily impacting everybody, right? So that's what. So the second one is stop federal agencies, be it USAID, Department of State, all of them to stop implementing this, and then assess as it was in the past, and ask the government to do assessments just like the past, without any of these new things. So this is what they're asking. And as you can see on the screen, this is what you see. Essentially, it's called prayer for relief in the last section, where they clearly talk about what they want from the lawsuit, right? So this is what is the request from them, right? So now, if you look at, right, the chances of success, right, again, it can go both ways, right? But just assessing, right, the plaintiffs are very compelling, arguments. The first thing one is essentially, right, they're going after the power, overreach of power, which is overreach of power and administrative pressure. So both are under the Congress fee, right? So these three things are basically very, very powerful, right? Like in essentially APA is an important one. So that's one, and also overreaching power, and also the harm that is created, right? So all of these are very, very good, really, really good points that I've put up. So again, so this is from the plaintiff standpoint, I would say very, very compelling ones. But on the contrary, right, if you look at the defendants, essentially the President Trump administration, right, so they can also, as a president, have broad powers to do some of these things, but they may not stand in some places about this fee and all of that, right? So they can also, it's again the discretion of the president. He can put all these bans on whatever, right? And because he has broad power. So if you see historically, there are some of the bans, like Muslim ban, all of these that thing happened in the past that were upheld by the courts, right, during the Corona time frame. So it's kind of like a mixed bag, right? It's hard to say that basically that it's like a black and white that these organizations will win, right? So if you look at it, so that's the idea. I mean, sorry, I didn't change the slide, so just this one, right? So if you see, the plaintiffs have a very strong argument, and Trump also has a strong defense on his side. So overall, it's hard to say which will go, but I would say a good 70% chance for the plaintiffs to win. Again, this is just my assessment. Again, I could be totally wrong. Or so there could be some parts that it'll be in favor of the administrator, the organization, especially the 100,000 fee. But other things, we don't know, right? I think this is something that will pay out. Again, this is the first lawsuit that has been filed, so we may see more and more lawsuits in this case, right? So we'll have to see how this will pan out. Overall, let's see, right? I mean, we'll keep you posted how the whole thing goes, right? And again, what do you think of this lawsuit and the arguments in it, right? So do subscribe. So do add your comments in the comment section. Look forward to feedback. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe for getting regular updates.